Alright, that cultist battle was a bit rougher than we were assuming. Now, I mentioned that you will usually get multiple fights in the cultist one. I was incorrect about that. I think it's the final fight where you get multiple combats with the cultists. At the very least, we are on our way to the hospital. We're just praying that the 58 relics that we have will be enough to start curing some of the egregiously large amount of maladies that we have accumulated. So, our Hellion has sepsis, cholera, sepsis, and sepsis. Now, let's go back to our characters. So, sepsis is on round start, a 15% chance of half damage. And cholera is the round start days. Okay, so we have to get rid of cholera because that is extremely hurting us. From here, let's go to wellness and take a look at it. So grave robber suffers a stress on a 25% chance if they're bloodied, and the other one that we needed to get rid of was the yips, because that's round start of blindness. So we're going to get rid of that. That gives us 30 to remain with. This is also a 16, but I believe getting rid of sepsis on a few characters is going to be a better usage of our funds purely for the damage reduction that it suffers. So we are going to get rid of sepsis on the Hellion and the Jester. And hopefully that will keep us going for a bit. So next in our pathway, we've got a resistance encounter, cache, or an unknown. We'll probably take the cache just so we have more supplies, leading into several unknowns, and then our final fights. Okay, so Hellion would like to flee, fight with some type of a buff, and fight with no buff. So we're going to take fight with a buff. So we've got two ladies and a dinner cart. I have not fought a dinner cart before. Enemies have nothing. Oh, stealth. That's what that gave us. An entire team of stealth is very interesting. Dinner cart has 50. Let's get bleed started on the ladies. Light 80, 80, 80. So instead we will do daggers. And our plague doctor, once again, 80. So we will blind the dinner cart, which resisted it, of course. That dealt a very large amount. Wow. Okay, so that dealt a lot of damage, death doored our character, who also got taunt and blind. So we're going to have to be extremely careful. I am going to hold off on the revelry and instead yelp to reduce damage. And let's hope that this next turn gets us a good order. Death door check.
In crisis, we can rely only upon each other.
Okay, let's get a swan going. Oh, wow. Well, on the plus side, she lived, but it's probably not feeling so good right now. Okay, we can't knock 6 blasts with battlefield medicine to get her off death's door. Okay, we've got to heal Absinthe herself back up. Okay, now she's got dodge and should be a bit more useful to us. Let's pick to the face the lady back here, who is now blocked Death's Door. Helion's back in front, which is good. But she is blind, so we're going to use a Revelry for her. Meantime, let's try to get a bleed on the cart. We're going to do a blinding gas just to try to get the death blow, and that'll give us a tombstone for healing.
There is comfort in company.
Once again, blight resistance isn't too helpful for us, so let's just Dead of Night. Slide the cart forward, see if that changes any of its attacks. Likely it won't, because it still is in position 3.
Steady yourself.
There's another crit. Turn order, we don't have Revelry available, so let's Battle Medicine.
Help impeccably timed.
And we will stack some more bleeds. There's also a morsel that just got summoned here. It is a corpse. We're not sure what that does. Let's get a bleed stacked on it. It won't die on whatever would constitute its next turn, unfortunately. Blinding gas on the cart. Just make sure that it has a hard time hitting us, if anything. I can cleave the corpse, so let's do that just in case that corpse that was added has some detrimental effect. We have another slice off going. So we've gotten through arguably the more concerning portion of this fight, and right now we're just trying to get ourselves recovered. The nice thing about her being so high in stress is that her Revelry is a huge stress reduction. It's 3 for her every turn as opposed to 1 for everyone else. I believe Audrey is just going to be in charge of getting these corpses down. There has to be something that is going on that we do not want that corpse to be up. We will Inspiring Tune, Stress Down. Get an extra pip of our affinity, rather. And once again, the blight chance on this is extremely low, so let's do a battlefield medicine.
In crisis, we can rely only
And
on
if it
each other.
bleeds. So currently our Hellion damage is effectively 0 because of the Winded, and we don't have any method of getting rid of it, but realistically I just want the bleeding stacks. Get another, let's see if we've got it low enough, 8, so it will hit 0, it does have a Death's Door, so let's try to force it to Death's Door, and we get a double attack. I love that it cleans off its teeth. That's hilarious. At the moment, this is kind of our only option, even though the bleed is going to be very low chance of ticking in. Get some more stress reduction. Unfortunately, we didn't get back to our grave robber in time, so she healed herself. That shouldn't be an issue. We've got an entire round to just dump everything we can into her. We're going to ballad our Hellion forward so that she can bleed out.
An interminable conflict.
4-7, pick to the face is a Death's Door proc. Okay. And And we are done with that
One
fight.
less obstacle in our path. An inkling of potency still lingers in some of
The
these
beginning of this
well-worn
game
relics.
is definitely where the challenge comes from. As you can see, we got pretty much completely overloaded on effects on us. Now, I should realistically be slotting these in across everyone just so I have them as options. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. I don't exactly have a concern of where it slots for everyone, but the main reason I came in here is for trinkets. So this is nice, but I don't really care about the 50% bleed resistance as it takes up both of the trinket spots. These are much more interesting. So blight is occurring much more in this area, but I'm gonna keep... No, I'll switch over that. And then if we go to our grave robber, let's give her that resistance. We will give disease resistance here. And then we've got trinkets. For now, we'll give our plague doctor those two. Okay, next up is our Crossroads. We are going to go to the cache unless everyone wants to go question mark, but we're all going cache. Some good stress reduction there for us. Now we got the cache, 2 question marks, and then our final fight before the end. Our light source is getting quite low. We're at 12 light source right now, so we will have an issue to deal with that. As our light goes down, the game is made more difficult for us, generally in terms of debuffs that we receive and buffs that the enemy receive. So enemies have additional crit, more speed, they have a chance of battle advantage. We have a higher chance of getting affinity changes in the negative. So as soon as we are on a path where question mark is, it'll immediately alert us to what it is. So we're coming up next to the Hoarder, and he will offer us a purchase attempt before we get to the end. We've got 2 different types of currencies: relics, which we've been purchasing our healing from, and then baubles, which are exclusively used for purchasing trinkets. So in this case, we're just going to take a quick look at the trinkets that we have available. I'm going to take this Hag's Hoard, because we can use that on our Hellion for more health. The rest of it, I'm not super interested in, but what we will look at next is what we can purchase for money. So we've got healing salves, we've got laudanum, so let's stock up on those.
The tools of violence. Despicable.
And we have 8 left over. What I like to do is try to pick up as many in items that will give affinity. So like this whiskey bottle here has an equal chance of affinity increase or decrease. Certain items that we can pick up will have a better chance of affinity increase. Since none of those exist right now, we will exit the Hoarder and continue on our way. We've also revealed the next encounter, which is Cultists. So we will have 2 Cultist battles, and then we will finally be at the end. We're now at 0 torchlight. What this means is we will get ambushed by Cultists. If we beat this fight, we will get 40 light source back and be able to continue. So on our way to the inn, we have a total of 3 fights we need to get through. Blight application is pretty good across all of them, so we'll start with the cherubs for that. Slice off on our evangelists. That's a 15 damage bleed, so we'll likely use a heal to get rid of it, especially because it just stacked up to a 25 damage bleed. quite low. We've got one attack from a cherub before going through, but we don't have a sight on where our Plague Doctor is going to be. So in the interest of being safe, we will Absinthe. Now we can Inspiring Tune down her stress, which seems like a good idea. And let's get another going. We're not going to worry about stress at the moment, just because I want to get this fight a bit more under control. We are going to Battlefield Medicine the bleed away.
The slow suffering begins.
And obviously it gets applied right back. Given the amount of bleeding that we're taking, I think it's probably a good idea to put the Winded removal on our Hellion, because it also removes bleeding, and that has been our primary issue this game. Once again, continue to stack bleed. Let's move it over to the cherub. Unfortunately, resisted it. Let's get a blinding gas.
As directed.
Tried to get a blinding gas out, I suppose.
Steady yourself.
This is one of the problems with being very low, is your enemies have a very high crit chance. Okay, how are we looking here? We are going to start with the Revelry for a heal. This will be a very big mark on if our grave robber lives. She's gonna have to survive 2 hits here. Then her bleed. Okay, she's still good. Miraculously, she's still alive. Plague Doctor is immediately next, so I'm going to instead just do an attack. And we can Battlefield Medicine to get her off Death's Door and get rid of the bleed.
Has been tended to.
This infectious enemies is also extremely difficult for us. That's the modifier that this group has, and it means all of our resistances are just so much lower, which is why we're just getting absolutely wrecked.
Perhaps.
Doesn't help that our characters keep getting blinded as well. At this point, we're just kind of hoping we get a hit. Now, I've got a 50 miss chance, it's got a 50 dodge chance, 25% chance to hit. Let's at least try to get a bit better of an odds on a hit, even though that really was about as useful of a turn as trying to go for the main one.
Steady yourself.
Okay, 4 to 10. Let's get some more blight going. Okay, so this one's down to 9, which means we are getting much closer. Cherub's done. Our Grave Robber is slightly high on stress, so she's going to get annoyed that people are taking her kills, and she's back at Death's Door. Thankfully, Plague Doctor is immediately next. So, characters in this game, when they hit max strengths, instead of the traditional heart attack, if you've played Darkest Dungeon 1, will instead have this meltdown, and they basically tarnish their relationships with everyone. If you're at 4, inside of a positive affinity, you will not lose that, but anything else you'll lose it, and you can sometimes go completely into the negative. Okay, we are going to keep working on this one. So we've still got a week. We're not going to do enough damage to be able to kill this, and the blight is just going to turn it into Death's Door. So instead, let's try to get rid of this dodge.
A slow dissection.
Then our Hellion at least has a chance to get a bleed out going. We are going to Inspiring Tune ourselves, try to reduce the amount of breakdowns that we have. And we will get a Noxious Blast going.
Miscalculation, perhaps.
Once again, we had a blindness token. Okay, that one is procced into Death's Door, like we were assuming. It's going to charge up, so we are hoping to get a kill on it before it has a time to act. We do not have our Revelry here, so we're just going to have to do an attack. Get our bleed stacks. At this point, we're basically out of healing resources. So trying to keep people alive will be very difficult. We're hoping that the Death's Door proc lands here. This one's going to take 6 damage, so let's at least get rid of its dodge. And send a Noxious Blast its way. That will get it to Death's Door. With 5 health left, 3 to 6, 3 to 6, and 3 to 6. They are all 3 to 6, so what we'll do is we will do a stab. So at the very least it gives him dodge and moves him forward, hopefully protect her more. Thankfully our Hellion lived, who is going to get herself a heal.
Wonderful thing. Steady yourself.
Let's get a blinding gas on the cherub, as it is going next. Was not useful. We're going to detonate to get some healing back. Our Jester is going to do a Fade to Black attack, so that next turn he can stress heal himself. Revelry is on cooldown, so instead we will do a Yawp.
Sweat-soaked brows, unsteady stances. Exhaustion takes hold.
The game does not like the fact that we are this far into turns. Normally we'd be suffering loss of light as rounds go on, as we stall. But considering we're at 0, we don't really care. We're going to Inspiring Tune ourselves. Plague Doctor will try to get some more blight stacks. We're hoping that the death blow goes off. And we can get one more Revelry in. To the face, at this point, we're just trying to look for a quick cleanup. And we're out.
Suffering strengthens the bond.
Okay, so
Scavenge what you can.
we got our victory out. We got 40 flame. We actually pulled another trinket affected by Dark Impulse, which is a 33% debuff resistance. We got some more healing salves. So what we're going to do that we should have done before that fight ambushed us was actually put on our purchased combat items. So healing salves and laudanum are now on. Now, if we completely ignored the entirety of that combat and just looked at our totals down here, one could say we did okay there. So just completely ignore how catastrophic that fight was and the fact that we probably should have died, but made all of our death blow checks. Okay. 2 of our characters would like to flee. One of them would like to fight. I'm gonna fight. Is this a good idea? No. But we need to make some big plays if we are going to keep ahead of the curve. Exact same fight as last time. Let's hope we can get a bit faster. Not having as much bleed debuff will keep us alive for quite a bit longer. Let's get a bleed out first turn, which dodged. Noxious Blast. These first few turns, we want to let our health totals absorb as much damage as we can while we just get as much debuffs going. And hopefully that will let us get through without going to round 11 on the last fight. We're just gonna Inspiring Tune because we've got a blind at the moment. I say immediately after saying we need to do as much damage as possible.
A slow dissection. An unavoidable end.
Okay, she's back to Death's Door. We got one attack and then a Plague Doctor.
A setback, nothing more.
Okay, Plague Doctor, get her off Death's Door. And you're unfortunately too low to do damage this turn. So at the very least, this one is Death Stored on its turn, and we've got a Blight stacking up on the furthest back Cherub. So despite what it looks like, we are slightly better off than we were in the last fight. 5 health. We will do a Slice It Off. I want to just absorb this dodge token.
Miscalculation, perhaps.
It's at Death's Door. Do Flinching Daggers. Perfect. That gives us our Death Blow. Next turn we can crunch that Gravestone for some extra health. Let's get a Blinding Gas. Try to reduce their damage output.
We can rely only upon each other.
We don't have Revelry up. Now, this is a very low chance of hitting. Let's just still do that. It's going to be the same either case. What spell we use, really, we're just getting rid of the blindness and the dodge token there, rather than doing damage. Okay, 6 damage for one more turn. I think we're okay with that. I would rather try to get some blight.
An unavoidable end.
We're going to Dead of Night here. You're ticking up quite heavy because of that, so we will Inspiring Tune to get you back to where you were. Ooh, that was a big crit.
In crisis,
She did live through it, and we can Revelry to get her off.
Empowered, emboldened.
In terms of tanks, Hellion is definitely not doing as well as some of the others, so in the next playthrough we'll probably go over to a Leper as our front line, but I do need to look at these last few abilities and try to rejigger her a bit. At least see if it's possible to get her into kind of a more sit there and absorb damage state. We will... So this is just going to be 2. We're going to try to secure the kill. We will get a Noxious Blast on the back one.
Cooperation is the key.
You're good at the moment, so let's get a Bleed Out going. We'll get you some healing. technically she's still doing her job. It's just slightly stressful the way that she's accomplishing it. I'd rather her not be at death's door when it goes to her turn every single turn. We've got a revelry charge.
Comfort in company.
Once we get to the inn, we'll have a bunch more mastery points, and that will really help us out here. Okay, you are dead on your turn, so we just have to worry about this one. Gesture got his dodge off. So, if we look at our turn, we've got Priscillus, and then we've got our Hellion. She's already used hers, so let's just secure the kill. And then our Plague Doctor can do the same.
The work continues.
Once more, another Dark Impulse, but not anything to use it. So these are the items that we really want. Dartboards. Very high chance of proving affinity, and a small chance of harming it. We'll quickly go here. I'm going to take a look at this, and then we'll keep going. Okay, here's what we've landed on for our Hellion. We've got toe-to-toe. This gives us some move forward as well as a self-taunt. It does root you in place, which means you can't be shifted afterwards, and it can be used from any of the first three positions. Adrenaline Rush, heal, remove bleed, and remove winded. We can only use it twice, so we do have to be careful about that, and it's only when our health is below 33%, but based on the amount of damage that we've been taking, I think we're going to meet those conditions. Revelry for our stress reveal, bleed out for damage, and then we've also gotten Howling End. And the thought behind this is if we use Adrenaline Rush, we will have no winded, so we can immediately do a Howling End, which is a very big damage hit, and hopefully that will give us some more attack back in terms of her damage output. So this Guardian here should be a multi-staged encounter. We can fight it multiple times if we choose so.
At last, respite within reach.
Okay, slight correction. It is not a cultist encounter, but it does have 3 fights into it. So we are going to start off with just a Howling End at this point. and get a big damage hit right off the bat. We will then 5 health, 2 to 4, so we're gonna poison damage a butcher. And then we're gonna see what we can do for a hit here. 3 to 6, still quite a lot we'd have to do, but we'll give it a try. 7 damage.
A promising development.
Heals itself, wastes its turn, which is great for us. Dodge did not help. We'll get a blinding gas out to reduce their damage output. Back to here, we will do a fade to black, I should say. Get some damage on that frontliner and get us back. Let's do a revelry for stress. And then a pick to the face will hopefully get our crit in, get our kill in. Noxious Blast, we can't hit any of the back target, so let us use Ounce of Prevention just to give us some debuff resistances. In the meantime, we will Detonite to shift everyone forward. Okay, we can do a slice off on the back rank. Some bleed started.
An unavoidable end.
Now this is kind of a thing that I'm not super happy about on Adrenaline Rush, is I can't use it right now if I wanted to just go further on damage. Like, I could use Adrenaline Rush and then I have a full damage Howling End back. My only bleed is Bleed Out, which I obviously don't want to hit the corpse with, so we'll just take the lower damage hit. And get a blinding gas up. Jester is low enough that I'm now starting to be concerned of his health totals. We'll get him a heal. He's going to Death's Door off this bleed. But what we will do is give him a Fade to Black so that he can't be hit. And that should give us enough time to get our Plague Doctor in and heal him.
Let us hope they find peace.
Okay. Apparently Meat Hook can bypass stealth. Great. That is exactly what I wanted. Just super happy with that outcome. Still can't do that. Let's at least get rid of the stress. Hey, everyone's out of stress. Poison darts. And let's just finish this fight. This is the first character that I've actually had that's died, which makes sense considering, well, makes sense in this attempt considering the amount of freaking death doors that I've gotten. So I don't actually know what happens if we just continue the whole game with only the 2 people, or if we have an opportunity for more. So that is definitely seeming like a problem for her with that one. We're going to escape. There's no reason advancing forward with only 3 of us.
Lingers in some of these well-worn relics.
And we will keep going. We are currently overcumbered. We have way too many items, so let's get rid of some of these Dark Impulses in terms of combat. Items, we will get rid of those. Now we can keep moving again. I will get rid of 1 more item in case we pick up something like more slime moments. And we will finally make our way to the inn.
soaring heart does much for the weary body.
Hey, we've gained a
Even
few
more, perhaps, for the
perks,
restless soul.
so -5 crit, 1 damage chance for stun. We have to get rid of that. Boisterous, I'm not 100% sure what that'll give us. Oh, so it just straight up added another character in for us at the end, so we have access to the leper. So we will need to make some position changes. We've got a tank now, so what we'll do is probably move our Hellion over to a damage dealer. Likely we'll stance between the two of them if we need to. And then Plague Doctor will remain in the back. That about does it for this episode, though. So I'm going to take care of the background stuff between the two episodes. We'll give a brief overview of them, and the next episode we will start in the next zone, hopefully with a bit better luck than this current one. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.